showtime. Get over here!
All the cool kids hang with the Geek Legion.
Mortal Kombat 2, directed by Simon McQuaid, and this one is a follow-on, of course, from the, I think, 2021 Mortal Kombat movie, and is really a kind of sequel, this one going into the actual kind of tournament side of stuff, with returning characters from the first movie, but also a bunch of new characters, primarily Katana and Johnny Cage, played by Karl, of course. And the plot briefly of this one is that during this tournament, Shao Kahn, who is the kind of the big baddie of Mortal Kombat, effectively gets a cheat code where he can become unkillable. And it's up to our band of heroes to try and disable this cheat code to enable the fight to be fair and to defend Earthrealm. What will happen? You'll have to watch the movie and find out. So let's discuss, obviously based on a popular video game. I'm actually a huge fan of the 90s, the original 90s movie. And I quite like the 2021 version. This one, I think, is somewhat more faithful to the game, I would say. On the plus side, there is certainly plenty of fights in this one. We get quite a few matchups. I mean, there's probably a good like 10 fights in this movie, so you get a decent amount. And because this actually has the kind of the tournament element to it, you know, a lot of it is kind of in the classic sort of you know, spike pit and things like this that you would have kind of seen from the games. So that's all quite fun. And obviously this one it leans more into things like the fatalities as well. So this movie is surprisingly gory. I mean, when you're kind of watching it on a video game, it doesn't really seem as gory. But watching it on a film, even though, you know, it's sort of CGI gore, it's still relatively kind of gory for like a mainstream film, you might say. I mean, it's obviously in keeping with the game, but nonetheless, there it is. And I think they kind of, I mean, it has been kind of reported, they've sort of learned lessons from the original movie. Like the main character of the first one was this character called Karl, and he's in this movie but not in it loads. So they've obviously, you know, had the feedback from the first movie and kind of made adjustments. I will say that this movie's biggest positive for me, I think, is the sort of spectacle. Like I said, there's many fights. They're very sort of over the top, filled with kind of VFX, special moves, powers, lots of kind of like fantastical backgrounds. So although this movie isn't like a mega budget movie, I think the budget was around 70 million, I want to say. It feels like a certain amount of kind of spectacle and kind of whiz bang on kind of screen here. And there's, you know, as I say, there's some funny elements to this movie as well. They kind of bring back Kano, who was really the kind of the standout of the original movie, and he's got some sort of funny one-liners. And there are some kind of like fun scenes from other characters. Johnny Cage, played by Karl, and it's quite fun. And there are some kind of like quite funny kind of callbacks. For example, when he sees Raiden, he kind of mentions Big Trouble in Little China, and of course, Big Trouble in Little China was actually the inspiration for Raiden. Things like that. There's the kind of a few sort of like little nods and kind of like cameos. You'll notice you might recognise the barman in one of the Johnny Cage scenes and things like this. So there's definitely plenty of kind of little Easter eggs and kind of little nods and kind of like pop culture references and stuff. And because Johnny Cage is a film star, there's lots of sort of, as I say, just little things that are said that I think will be quite funny if you're a kind of a film fan. I think the stunt work is all very good. I mean, Karl Urban, really not known for martial arts and stuff. And it's obviously done by a stunt person, but I think they've made it look pretty good, I would say. So I think the stunt work is, you know, is sort of quite impressive. Okay, what doesn't work? I'm going to be honest with you, I was a little underwhelmed with this movie. I know this is maybe contrarian and stuff. And I know this movie's possibly going to have a lot of positive reviews, and this movie isn't going to be negative. But I didn't really think this was anything special. Let me say why I would say that. This to me, I mean, the plot is fairly kind of humdrum, nothing to really, write home about. It's get the MacGuffin, basically, get the kind of the cheat code or this amulet. Fine, that's fine. To me, I felt like this movie really struggled to find things for characters to do. Johnny Cage, I didn't think he had much to do, I have to say. But he's not the only one. I think this movie really struggles to find things for a lot of characters to do. And you almost feel like they kind of artificially make things, well, that's how it feels. It feels like, they created things to fill like characters' time, and it just seems very inorganic in a way. How characters are used, and I think Johnny Cage, before you watch this, he was kind of sold as the main character, and he isn't really, because ultimately I didn't think he had a huge amount of impact on the actual sort of story. It's actually Katana who is really our kind of a main character here, and I really didn't feel Johnny Cage had a huge amount of impact, although we do spend quite a lot of time with him. But he's not the only one. There's also some kind of like, I won't say who, but this movie like massively overdoes character switching sides. It does it about 4 times. I'm thinking, it's done it too many times. It's too many times, and it kind of keeps doing it. So that I kind of found frustrating. I feel it's really shoehorned characters in. Like Scorpion, we've got to have Scorpion in, so we'll kind of just have like this convoluted reason to have him kind of show up and things like this. And it just feels like quite poor writing, I've got to say. I mean, obviously it's trying to fit in with the continuity of the last movie, but it just feels like really clumsy writing. It's also quite schmaltzy at times. I mean, I wasn't expecting this. It's fairly schmaltzy and cheesy at times. I mean, we're watching a Mortal Kombat film. I appreciate this isn't going to be high drama, but it's way more schmaltzy, way more cheesy than the original film. I think, Kano is in it. He's not in it as much. It's not quite as funny. I personally didn't think Johnny Cage worked. I like Karl Urban. I didn't think he worked as Johnny Cage. There's some, I kind of got used to him. I think he struggles with the accent. I don't really buy him as a kind of a martial artist. I think you're still seeing Karl Urban. He doesn't ever. I don't really feel like he kind of goes into the role. The Johnny Cage character was based on Van Damme. I don't know. It would have struck me to have an actual kind of like martial art type actor. Even get Scott Adkins and have like Johnny, like a bigger name doing another role to me, or something like that. He didn't really ring true as a kind of as a martial artist, and I didn't really think he had a lot to do, as I say. I also didn't think his character was particularly well ingratiated. Like, for example, when Johnny Cage just gets sort of introduced to this kind of otherworldly, he just kind of accepts it almost like straight away. I mean, he's reluctant to actually take part of the in the tournament, but he just accepts this kind of other world like straight away. It's like, it just doesn't ring true. I would also say, as I've mentioned, the movie's budget isn't massive, and it definitely has a sort of CGI, green screen kind of like feel to it, I have to say. And again, I appreciate this is based on a video game, but it kind of feels cheap. If you've ever seen the Mortal Kombat TV series, Mortal Kombat Conquest, it reminds me of that. Now, it's not as cheap as that, I will say, but it has that sort of low budget feel to it. A lot of it, I think, is because the locations is a lot of green screen. They use like one location way too much as well. This kind of like town square. and it's just like everything that happens in this particular realm happens in this one like set. Oh my god, it's just like, it's way overused. So it kind of feels sort of like low budget, like TV. One plus I forgot to mention, I actually quite like Shao Kahn. I thought Shao Kahn was actually quite well realised, I will say that. But some of the other characters, you know, some of our bad guy characters, I don't think were quite well, as well realised, shall we say. To me, look, it's a fun spectacle. You can enjoy it just for kind of brainless entertainment. To me, I actually preferred the first movie, even though I think the role of Cole, the main sort of character there, was poor, and I prefer the characters, you know, the existing characters. But I think I personally felt it was a better film. I thought it was a funnier film. I thought just the kind of the sets were better. But still, the best Mortal Kombat film is the original one for me, by a margin. Look, this isn't a bad film, I would say, but to me it was throwaway popcorn. It's a 5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What were your thoughts? Leave me comments and I'll look forward to seeing it next time.
For all the fun,
Join the Geek Legion of Doom! Yeah, come join us!
it's gonna be epic.